Hello and welcome to episode 53 of the What If South is Up podcast, where we dive into the arts of world building and storytelling with a what if lens. Together, we explore, dissect, and expand the speculative and fantasy worlds of our own making. Blending a bit of wisdom and a dash of whimsy, we aim to spark creativity for ourselves and for you. Get ready to reimagine and dig deeper as we journey from what if to what's possible. In other words, how to wing it like an author. I am Derek Hall, creator of the world of Ketra and a great many other things as I find myself branching out. And with me today is Christina Extina Lefebvre.
And my made-up world is also my first made-up world. It's called Cobb, a magical parallel Earth colonization never happened in Americas. I'm an aspiring author and yet unpublished. As for my latest world-building thing I'm working on, I'm trying to iron out the education system. What about you? Or did you already say it?
I didn't. I completely forgot. I am working on detailing and building out some alternate dimensions.
Fun times.
No, not at all. Overly complicated and hair-rending times.
You know what? We're good at that too.
Yep.
To kick things off, and before we see which what if question Chance brings up, let's do a potion elixir check. What are you drinking today, Mr. Derek? And what's going on in the real world?
I am drinking nothing too fancy. It's just bourbon. Neat. Don't even have a fancy name for it this time. No, it's just whiskey.
No, nothing. You got to make up a name from your world. So
Firewater? I have no idea.
There we go. You're having firewater.
It's liquor based on corn, and it's delicious. Real world wise, I'm just trying to survive. Got a lot of shit going on and trying to keep it all somewhat contained.
Adulting at its finest.
Yeah, I don't have ducks and they're not in a row. I have squirrels and they're at a rave. So that's my life right now. What about you?
I'm emotionally stable.
Well, that's more than I can say.
My potion today is from Healer Uki. It's kind of like a hot toddy in real life. And as far as what's going on in my real life, I'm starting to work on my art studio. It's been havoc wreaked for months, and too many months. I have a group of friends coming over to do some work in it. You know, we're all going to do an art project, our own art projects in my studio. So I got to get it cleaned up. So that's what's been going on in my real life.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, with elixirs in hand, let me get this bubble out of my throat. Now, with elixirs in hand, let's talk worldsmithing. What breakthroughs, techniques, or tips have sparked new life into your world building, story, or lore recently? Christina, what do you have?
So, I stopped listening to nonfiction and went back into, trying to listen to more writing craft podcasts. And I'm really digging this year's Writing Excuses. They're really doing a deep dive into looking at your story not only through your own eyes, but through the eyes of your target, of that person you're writing for.
Oh, cool.
And it's, so being able to apply that back to my story, it's pretty interesting. It's giving me some inspiration to get back to the keyboard. That's for sure.
That's always good.
Yeah, I would love to get back to the keyboard. I'm running out of excuses. So, Derek, what's going on for you?
Well, after juggling multiple large projects, I am taking a bit of a breather and working on a project for a client that is going nicely so far. Okay. So nothing major as far as my worlds go. Other than that, I find it very interesting to see how other people build their worlds as opposed to how I build mine, especially in the earlier stages. Mm-hmm. It's a simple thing, but it makes a difference. It's nice to see the different perspectives and processes and things like that go into it.
So how are you seeing these?
I'm not sure I should say.
Okay. So it's not like through a writing group, or is it through just friends, or um, it's just
Clients,
clients? Okay.
clients. I do some editing work.
Okay. It's really good for the audience to hear different ways to get access to other worlds, to
Yeah, absolutely. Critique groups are awesome. Facebook groups are cool. Beta reading for people, ARC reading for people. The Inkfort Derby is an awesome way to swap ideas with people. And I've done
awesome.
all of the above, but in this case, I'm editing, and it's fun seeing how other people got to a point where things are almost settled,
Hmm.
and it's not how I necessarily would have done it, even given the same storyline or parameters.
That's what makes it so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's different.
Yep. As world builders, it's essential to keep our creative skills sharp by exploring other realms and stories. Since our last episode, which world have you been visiting, and through which portal did you enter? And most importantly, what did you take away from that world, Mr. Derek?
Well, I've been going back through the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies with the kid and basking in his wonder for fantasy and Tolkien and kind of
Mm.
reliving the glory days when I discovered it all. It's
Aw, how
it, it
cute.
it's been downhill ever since. It's a deep dark pit that has consumed my soul. But yes,
I did that with Star Wars with my son.
I've been doing that too, but he wanted to take a break, so
Yeah.
you yeah, we got through the prequels.
Now
I was
you're
like,
watching these, right? You're
yeah,
not
we're
reading the
watching
book.
them. We're watching them. I'll
Hmm.
probably turn him onto an audiobook when he's a little bit older and ready for it. Get the
So
Andy
the
Serkis Lord of the Rings audiobooks.
the world, I think that got. I mean, I was really inspired by uh, Narnia, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
my son and I shared. Uh, Gosh, what was his name? The Warrior Mouse. Uh, why can't I
The,
remember the name of this?
the only one coming to my mind is Despero.
No.
Not that one.
Um, um, the book series was Redwall series.
Oh,
The
yes,
Redwall
yes.
series, my son and I read together. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a really great bonding experience for us to be able to pass the books back and forth. And I think that's really where I fell in love with fantasy. I mean, like I said, um, C.S. Lewis, the Narnia books were a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. But it wasn't until I read the Redwall series with my son that I was like, okay, fantasy's my dig. This is it. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sharing that with our kids is awesome.
Yeah, it really is. Like I
Hmm.
started with C.S. Lewis and Narnia, and it was okay, but I never really got hooked on it.
Hmm.
It felt childish to me, even though I was a child.
Hmm.
Um, and then somebody suggested Tolkien, and I absolutely devoured everything as
So
fast as I could.
you have to understand that when I was reading Narnia, there was nothing else like it. There was no other way. There was no other portals into these imaginary worlds like it
Mm-hmm.
was. This was the only way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we didn't have all the movies, we didn't have all the
Yeah.
games, we didn't have all the things. This was you know one of the only ways to get there.
Back in my day.
Exactly what he said.
Uphill both ways in the snow, barefoot.
No snow, please. Now, for me, right now, I'm reading the fifth season by N.K. Jemisin. Have you heard of this?
I have. I have
Yeah.
not read it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so I'm reading this right now, and it's actually it is the first time I've read a novel, where one of the POVs is in second person.
And that is why I've heard of it.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it takes a moment to get used to, but
Yeah,
no, it's been interesting. I would like to get deeper into it, of course, but yeah, very interesting. Um, Brian and I, Christmas time as my Christmas present, he took me to we went to his parents' house, and then I got to go into Barnes and Noble because I don't have a bookstore around where I live. The
hmm,
nearest bookstore is a coffee shop, and that bookshop is the same size as my kitchen, very
right.
small. And we have no malls around here. The nearest mall is like 3 hours away.
Hmm.
Um, so to be able to go into a Barnes and Noble at Christmas time was a treat. So I picked it up there.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love me a good bookstore,
Yeah.
especially a used bookstore.
Yes, my friend has one in Washington State that I love going to. He does such a wonderful job.
There's a few little mom and pop used bookstores around here in different places that I get to as often as I can because they're just amazing. And
Ugh. And
now it is time for Worldsmith Darlings. Each of us will share a few words that paint a vivid picture of another world. Could be a passage from another author that we admire, or perhaps one that missed the mark, or something we wrote. These might be snippets we're proud of, or dead darlings that didn't make the final cut. Are you ready to dive into some world building wins and woes?
yes, no woe today.
No woe.
No woe.
What have you got for us?
So this is from the fifth season. It's just one quick paragraph.
Okay.
Naughty, naughty, chides a voice in your head, the voice of your conscience, deep and male. You forget this thought almost the instant it occurs. That voice is from another life.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see why that would definitely take some getting used to. Just it feels weird. Don't tell me what to think.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
can see why that would be compelling in a way, but at the same time, like I physically tensed up.
So it does take a moment, but I got to the whole book is not in second
Right.
person. So that makes it easy. Um and I don't know. I haven't gotten that far into it, so I can't give my opinion yet. What about you? What do you have?
um got something from a one of my active projects. The shadows were growing long, and light no longer streamed through the windows of their small house. The calls of the night birds were beginning to replace the song of the day birds, and distantly she could hear the bell that ordered the gates closed for the night.
Nice use of sound.
Thank you.
So, a tip to all of our writer listeners or storyteller listeners or D&D listeners, use all five senses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I recently wrote a book on world building, and there's an entire chapter all about making sure you use all the senses,
Mhm.
which even I'm guilty of not doing that. So it's important. It makes a big
And
difference.
you don't have to use them for every scene. You don't have to use all
No,
five
no.
senses for every scene or every setting. Just remember, it's about what your character is experiencing at the moment that matters and what
Right.
matters to them. You know, I go into a place and the smell isn't as important to me as it is to my husband.
Hmm.
That's our POV. I'm looking at the visual aesthetics. He's looking at different things.
Yep.
And that's really important when you're writing for a particular character. You understand what's important to them, what they would understand. So if you have a
Exactly.
character that is always described a setting in like visual and sound, if they go into a new setting and they suddenly are smelling things, the readers are going to hyper be aware of that.
Right.
And
And
so,
that is something you would do in a case where a smell was so strong as to be overpowering.
right. So if it's just a faint smell and if it has nothing to do with the character and they haven't described anything else in smell, it's going to
Right.
stick out. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And like for me, as someone who's worked IT and stage production and things like that, when I go to a concert or a venue, I'm looking at the tech. I'm looking at how they set up the lights and the speakers and how they ran their cables and where the control panels are and all of that stuff because I'm familiar with it and I'm aware of it.
Yep.
Whoever I'm
Where
with, they couldn't give two shits where any of that stuff is, what it is, how it works, or why it's there. They
Mhm.
just know that it makes pretty lights while the person plays music.
And for me, where I actually went to school for interior design. I walk into a room and I'm like, okay, that does not belong there. This cannot go there. That should not be there. And I'm looking at how people decorate, and I am not judging, but I'm determining, their personality by how they decorate. You know, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's it
Perspective plays a
matters.
huge role in what somebody notices.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, now it's time for the main event and our favorite game, World Builders Roulette. Each week, we place the fate of our worlds in the house. We play 2 weeks in a row. I cannot get words straight.
What are
Each week,
words?
what are words? Each week, we place the fate of our worlds in the hands of the D20, letting it choose from our list of wild, speculative, and magical scenarios. Will this week's roll transform our worlds or inspire an entirely new one? Only the dice knows. Okay, so let's see where they lead us.
All
You
right.
ready?
Yep.
Right.
Number 10.
Ooh, what's 10?
What if all bodies of water led to different dimensions, each with its own rules of magic and time?
I like that. It's almost like Peter Pan in Neverland.
Second star to the right, and straight on till morning.
What if all. Wait, where is it? What if all bodies of water led to a different dimension, each with its own rules of magic and time? Wow. So, um, this reminds me. I was recently listening to the Indigenous Peoples History of Americas, and they're talking about how trade was done, and you know, some people would that'd be their whole existence. Is that's all they did was trade for their whole life. Now, trading now, we think about it. We think about trading, and we envisioning these people just going from town to town, like the old westerns,
Yeah.
just a few days apart. We're talking sometimes these places that they go are months apart, weeks apart, months apart, and they're gone from their families for years at a time. And this makes me think of it only in that every time they get to a new um, set of people, they would have different rules of conduct, engagement, beliefs, right? Maybe even where they were technologically. Um, I don't know. I think this is an interesting concept to play on, to write on.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy the idea of it being water that leads you to these other places.
Yeah. Well, it kind of plays into the old sailor's legend of, being able to fall off the edge of the world. And
Here there be dragons.
basically, you can fall off the edge and go to another dimension or the afterlife or the underworld or whatever. Um, yeah, it's an interesting concept. Like, okay, so you get on a boat on a river and there's a waterfall at the end, but if you go over it, you show up someplace new.
It's kind of like Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
Gulliver's Travels.
Yep.
So I wonder how interesting it would be to do a Gulliver's Travels type of story, but make it more modern, urban kind of sci-fi fantasy thing. I think that'd be very interesting.
That could be fun. I'd have to
So this,
reread Gulliver's Travels, but
so this, this doesn't bring me to my world. This brings me to a whole new world, a new adventure, and I kind of like it. And instead of bodies of water, I would probably use that as a metaphor for portals.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you could definitely do that. It's interesting to me some of the ideas that our questions bring around because I would not have thought of this,
Hmm.
but it is an interesting concept. Like, maybe out in the ocean somewhere there's a giant whirlpool, and if you get sucked into it, you come out in a different world.
Hmm.
But people try not to get sucked into it because they think they're going to die. But
Bermuda,
nobody's ever come back to tell them different.
the Bermuda's Triangle, the
Yeah,
Bermuda Triangle.
sort of,
Yeah.
sort of. Which we all know that's just Atlantis. Um,
So, so if you had this whole world, if everyone knew that the waters brought you to a place that has not only different people, but it's also rules and magics and time. Um,
mhm.
so just imagine that everybody knows this, right? Everybody knows that it's not like one person is just falls off the face of the earth and now they're in a new place. Everyone knows these are the rules. How much more constricted would societies be, or more expansive? I mean, if I knew that if I traveled down this spring, I'd be in a
Hmm.
different time. Um, either I here I am in 2025, but if I go down that stream, I'm going to end up in 1806, and if I go up that river, I'm going to end up in 3064. You know, how would that affect each society? Um, so the whole world knows this is possible. They know it's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm sitting here mentally trying to figure out how to map this weird system of time bubbles. Why that matters, I don't know, but that's where my brain went.
No, I'm
Um,
with you because I think we're both very, very visual people. One of the
yeah,
things we both did in the beginning was try to draw a map, right?
yeah,
So
yep, for sure.
that's one of our first steps when we world build. But no, I think I like the idea better that this one whole planet knows this happens, right? And so how do you build how do you build a story that this is what everyone understands? It's slightly different than Star Trek going to different planets, right?
Yeah,
Because it's in one world and you can't escape. And there's a finite number of worlds here because a globe is only as big as it can be.
right. But now here's the other question: how do they know? And if you go, can you come back?
So I'm going to say in my magical world, yes, you go back and forth, right? You know that but if I it's like if you're going to travel to the mountain, if you're going to go hiking in the middle of the mountains, there's certain supplies you have to bring.
Mm,
Versus if you go stay at an Airbnb in town, there's things you don't have to worry about.
yeah. So you're saying like some sort of magic or ritual or whatever can allow you to come back.
Okay, it's interesting that you say that because I'm just thinking you just get on a canoe on the stream, but you're saying that you would need a ritual to go in between these different realms.
No, just to come back. Because if you're going to a different world, who
Hmm.
says that the water works the same way in that world?
Well, we're not going to different worlds. We're going. Oh, it says different dimensions. Interesting.
And if the time is that different, if there's any sort of technology involved, that could be different or not work, or you can't charge your phone or whatever. And
So I
like,
once read a science fiction short story when I was like fourth grade, and everyone on the bus would feel as they went through to the next. They were going to work every day, and they'd feel the tingling or whatever as they got through this city. So
mm-hmm.
I see the different dimensions as all in one world, but
Oh,
you're seeing the dimensions as different worlds.
yeah, in a way.
Yeah,
If you go, how do you get back?
yeah. See,
Is
and I'm
that
thinking it's
is that portal just, is it stable enough that it's just always there? Is it a two-way street? Is it one way? Do you have to go to some other dimension and then circle back around to get home?
yeah, it's
That,
interesting where our brains went on this.
yeah, yeah, it is. That's the angle that my brain just jumped to, because I
Yeah.
always have to complicate things.
No, I'm just thinking this is one world. Like if you go to Frontierland over there, and you go to
It's a
Jungle
theme
Land over
park.
there, it's a theme park. It's a world. It's a theme park. Yeah, that's where my brain went.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
So, like I was saying, people build worlds very differently,
Yes, we do. Totally.
and it's interesting to look at, and that's part of why we do this.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
That was fun.
That was fun. I enjoyed that
I
one.
like that one. That was a
Hmm.
good one.
That was a good one.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to figure out how to get my characters back home.
If I ever think I need right out of story ideas, I'm totally coming back to this list.
Right.
And yeah.
There's some interesting things in there.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a world builder crafting your first universe, or a seasoned creator with realms under your belt? Whether you be a D&D game master, writer, author, or simply a storyteller, we would love for all the worldsmiths to join us on the What If South is Up podcast. Reach out on our Facebook page to send us your pitch, and we'd be honored to make your world the star of an episode or even a dozen.
We'd love your help too. Our What If list is always open for new, imaginative scenarios. If you've got a unique twist or a world shaking idea, please send it our way, and we'll happily give you full credit. After all, who wouldn't love a free plug for their made up world? Visit our Facebook page or drop us a line at whysouthistup@gmail.com. We cannot wait to see what you dream up.
So, Xtina, how can folks find you on the interwebs?
uniquelyxtina.com.
Nice jingle.
And yeah, and also I can be found on socials like Facebook and Insta and TikTok. What about you?
My website is DerekHallAuthor.com, but you can find me as D Hall Author just about anywhere.
Woohoo, we did it! Yay!
Yeah, we did it again.
Another episode. Did it again, did it again, did it again.
Oops, I did it again. All right, everybody, we'll catch you next time on What If South is Up.